seek first correction, applause will follow. Most people want applause without correction. They think that they can have both. Especially in the mid-tier performer that has not yet realized that they're not a business, they're a cult of personality. This is the decision you have to make. Do you want to be that cult of personality, or do you want to be a business? If you want to be a business, then you need to sacrifice your own personality and your own comfort and your own applause. Are you committed to the mission, or are you committed to outcome?
Welcome to the Mindful Hustle, the show where inner work meets outer results. I'm Donnie, and if you feel called to do big things in business while staying true to your high self, you're in the right place. Studies in cognitive neuroscience reveal that up to 95% of our actions and decisions are driven by subconscious identity patterns. So if your business isn't scaling, it's likely not your strategy, it's your self-concept. At Reality Realization Institute, we specialize in helping business owners rewire who they believe they are, so the results align automatically. You can book a free strategy session at realityrealization.org/call. Now, let's get into today's transformative conversation. Today's guest is Cody Butler, a transformation strategist and author of The Greatest Comeback in History Is You, and founder of the Internal Authority System. Cody has worked with more than 1,200 high-performing men, including CEOs, world champions, and executive leaders who achieved external success but found themselves internally divided. After building and exiting multiple businesses, Cody experienced his true turning point when he dismantled the performance mask and rebuilt his life on law, structure, and spiritual authority. His work is in therapy, self-help, or soft coaching. It's structural enforcement, designed to cut through emotional fog, reclaim identity, and restore unshakable internal command. Today, Cody leads a movement of men who are done negotiating with their own weaknesses, men choosing order over drift and legacy over applause. This episode is a deep dive into masculine transformation, spiritual structure, and what it means to lead yourself before leading others. Tell me a little bit about the initial journey for you. Was there a moment in your life or business when something just clicked and everything changed? Perhaps a mindset shift or a realization that really reshaped your path?
Yeah, so it happened for me when it was the end of another broken relationship, in fact, and I was so depressed and upset that I was in bed for weeks at a time, couldn't get up. And that was after a bankrupt business, failed relationships, after failure. And it got to the point where I just couldn't continue. I just said, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this for another day, another hour, another minute. And I just called out to God and said, what's going on? Why do I keep failing? It's not, why do I keep losing everything that I get? It came to me in that moment. It's not that I couldn't get things, I couldn't keep things. I was a millionaire by the age of 24, bankrupt by 25, 26. I got the relationships, I couldn't keep them. I got the dream car, I got the dream house. It actually caught fire and burnt down. And it's like, there's no challenge getting these things, it was keeping them. And it came to me in that moment that when I was 5 years old, my father came home and he was holding a glove in his hand and he said, is this your glove, Cody? I said, yes, it is. And he said, you know where I found this? I found it down the road. You don't deserve nice things. And it dawned on me in that moment. He didn't tell me that I couldn't get nice things. He told me that I didn't deserve nice things. And as a 5 year old, I had no mechanism to filter that out. The deity in your life, the authority figure in your life is telling you that you don't deserve nice things, and it goes in unfiltered. I was living out the prophecy that my father had spoken inadvertently over my life that I don't deserve nice things. And it was in that moment I realized that you will never outperform your internal programming, that the only way to move forward and overcome the challenges that you face in your life is you have to uncover the internal programming and you have to reprogram with a program that is actually supportive of the results that you're looking for.
I definitely understand that from seeing the different research and working with clients myself, how the way you perceive your life, the way you perceive the reality around you really goes to show what you actually get to experience and what reflects out and what you're able to create and keep. Tell me a little bit more about that journey when you had this realization that everything tied back into that 5-year-old self. What was your steps to overcoming that?
The premise of everything I do when I work with people is that the life you live is the man you are. It doesn't matter what you tell me about your life. Your result, your outcome, your behavior will show me what you believe. You're not going to behave in a way that's inconsistent with your belief system, ultimately. And this is the canary in the coal mine. This is the diagnostic tool. The life you live is the man you are. Show me your life and I'll show you your belief system. If your life is demonstrating that every time you get something nice, you lose it, then there's only one conclusion that you can come to is that your belief system states that I don't deserve nice things. Then the next stage is to question that. As a 5-year-old, I had no ability to question that premise. When my father said, you don't deserve nice things, I had no choice but to accept that. But as a 30, I have the ability now to process it and reject it. The question then becomes, is this true and am I going to accept this as my reality? And the answer is no, it's not true that I don't deserve nice things. Within 12 months, my income had increased by a factor of 18. Within 12 months, I was in the relationship with the woman that I'm still married to today.
Mm.
Within 12 months, my entire life, demonstrably, measurably on a spreadsheet, had entirely turned around. Simply by the premise of the life that I live is the man that I am. And we can reverse engineer that backwards as well. If I want to be a certain man, what life would I have to live? What choices would I have to make? What actions would I have to take? Now our decision making becomes structured, becomes authoritative, it becomes measurable, demonstratable, trackable. Versus the biggest challenge with the mindset industry is like mindset is abstract. What is mindset? What does it mean? How do you track it? How do you measure it? How do we take an abstract concept and turn it into a concrete principle? And those were the next steps for me. And that whole process is built on the premise of the life you live is the man you are, Donnie. Woman.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That's deep. I like that. So in a sense, being able to uncover the root beliefs and having that moment where you made this empowered decision to just take responsibility and change who you were, change and reflect the new beliefs, that new model of reality. That's what set you on this new path and gave you these new experiences of the life you wanted, really.
Absolutely. The man that got me to that position was not the man that was going to take me to the next level. It's recognizing that. I've worked with some of the top men. I've worked with world champion athletes, Olympic athletes, fighter pilots. I've worked with CEO, Fortune 500 companies. I'm talking about the highest caliber of performance. When you talk about a world champion athlete, it's like there is only one in the world. This is the absolute pinnacle of human performance. And I can tell you, having worked with those men, that they all have one characteristic that they share, and they have characteristics that they absolutely categorically reject. And the characteristics that those men who perform at the very highest levels have in common is that they seek performance over applause. They seek legacy over applause. They're not concerned with applause. They don't want you to approve of them. They want you to improve them. And the one characteristic, if we put it in a measurable, demonstratable principle, is they seek correction, not confirmation. They want to know what they're doing wrong because it's not what you know and what you're doing right. It's what you don't know and what you're doing wrong, or what you think is right that is wrong. These are the things that are holding you back. And a top performer understands that. And they're like, show me what I'm doing wrong and help me remove it versus give me the applause of what I'm doing. We're all doing stuff right and we can take that applause if we want to, but it doesn't get us anywhere. And the
Mhm.
main shift that happened at that point for me is I stopped seeking applause and I started seeking correction. And the question is, do you want your story or do you want the outcome? And that there's a Bible phrase, seek first the kingdom of God and all these things shall be added to you. What does that mean in this context? It means commit to mission over outcome. Seek the mission, not the outcome. And if you're truly committed to the mission, then all you care about is uncovering the flaws that are holding you back. And the truth was, when I looked in the mirror, at the time I was 35 years, I was looking at a man that was incapable of taking me to the next level. That man needed correction. That man needed discipline. That man needed humility. He didn't need someone to come and tell him what he was doing right. He needed someone to come and tell him what he was doing wrong, to get him clear about his mission and to get him to commit to his mission to the exclusion of everything else. And when you do that, when you get very clear on what your mission is and when you commit to that, then we can track it, then we can measure it, then we can determine if you're right on course or if you're off course. And when we can do that, then correction becomes accurate and productive.
Wow. Yeah, I like that. That's a sense of the Napoleon Hill, the Think and Grow Rich, setting your definite chief aim and keeping that as a core focus, and then optimizing the actions, the perceptions, all the surrounding things towards that chief goal and being able to track and optimize towards it.
And look, here's a useful piece of advice. If you're seeking peak performance, if you're seeking to achieve the highest at any point in time, when I'm working with clients, this is the first question that I ask them every time we communicate. This question has to be answered with precision. What are you working on right now, Donnie? People go, I'm working on my mindset. No, that's a category. Mindset is a category. Let's get more specific. What aspect of your mindset are you working on? Let's dial it down. I'm working on my attitude. What's wrong with your attitude? What needs correction? How do we dial this in? How do we actually reduce this down to a very specific, definable action? And how do we measure that action? And then once we get to that point, everything then becomes a binary decision. Does going on this podcast with you today support or does it interfere with the improvement that I'm looking to make in my life at this moment in time? If my goal, for example, is legacy, and I'm faced with the choice of a candy bar or an apple, it becomes a binary decision at this point. Which of those two choices support my objective? And which one of those two choices is going to hurt my objective? If I choose a candy bar over an apple, then my true objective is not legacy, it's comfort of my stomach. And the life you live is the man you are. Now I know that self-satisfaction is your goal, and we either need to correct that or accept that's your goal. And the key to peak performance and transformation is it has to be reduced to measurable decisions. Every action that you take in your daily life has to be reduced down to a measurable binary decision. Does this support my stated goal or does this work in opposition to my stated goal? And when you have that level of clarity, every decision that you make moves you forward, Donnie. Whereas when you don't have that level of clarity, every decision that you make supports your personal comfort and current existing belief system.
I see. So when you're going through the process of honing in on the root of this aspect that you're optimizing, redeveloping, and when you're trying to determine the parameters around it to optimize towards, how do you go about that with your clients? Say, for example, I'm over here, I'm working on my business. I've narrowed it down more so towards I need to focus on how I lead my team. When you set the parameters and determine how you're going to scale that and take actions towards it, what is the thought process you use for something like that?
We have 10 principles that we go by. That's actually in my book, The Greatest Comeback. And the first one is you build what you are. This is why it's man first, because if only diseased, corrupt man can build a diseased, corrupt temple. If it is in fact a corruption of disease or a temple of corruption and disease, then it was diseased, corrupt men that built it. It was not honest, integral men that built that. If honest men of integrity were building that organization, then it would be an honest, integral organization. And the question is, what am I building? If you're building a sales team, for example, what are the values that the sales team lives by? It's very easy to say people before profit, but it's much harder to live it. If your objective is to build a sales team that's people before profit, then you better be that man. Because a man that is truly not people before profit cannot build a sales team that holds that ideal. So the question becomes not how do I build this or how do I enforce this? The question is, what am I building? If you are diseased and corrupt, your sales team will be diseased and corrupt. If you are full of honesty and integrity, your sales team will be a team of honesty and integrity. And it's like how you manage that team will come out of who and what you are. It's like making ice. Like how do you make, what you can't pursue ice directly. So how do you make ice? You can't. You have to understand the conditions in which ice are made. It requires a sub-zero environment and it requires water. If you put water into a sub-zero environment, then ice will come out of it every single time. You don't need to understand the mechanics or the physics. Nor do you need to get down on your knees and pray in front of your refrigerator or freezer every night saying, God, I need ice. If you understand the environment in which ice is created, and you create that environment, nothing but ice can appear. The same is true within your business. What is the outcome that you are seeking within your business? That outcome is a consequence of inputs. When you're crystal clear about what it is that you're seeking as a result, then you pursue the inputs, which comes down to your character.
Yeah, that makes sense. So then, in that line of thought, when you are determining the inputs and outputs in this context, when you're realizing that it's, in a sense, what happens around you, these outcomes are like the fruits, how in the Bible it says they'll be known by their fruits. It's the sense that if you were to be wanting to build this team, who you are is the reflection of what will happen around you and outside of you in that team and how they interact and how they perform.
And there's a process, like, here's the process. Learn to lead yourself, learn to lead others, build the kingdom,
Mhm.
expand. And most people go straight to lead others or expansion. How do I expand my business? How do I scale? You've missed some steps here, brother. Step number one is learn to lead yourself, because who's the king? Who's leading this thing? The way McDonald's became one of the biggest, most powerful organizations in the world was by disciplined replication of a proven concept. It didn't become a multinational organization and then systemize the Big Mac. It became a multinational organization, one of the richest organizations in the world, by having a winning concept that they systemized and then executed growth with discipline and enforcement. This is the model. This is the winning strategy. And the question is, people go, how do I scale my business, Cody? First question is, what are you scaling? Do you think scale is going to bring an end to your chaos? Do you think scale is going to bring the financial results that you're looking for? Scale is only going to magnify what you already have. Learn to lead yourself. Are you effectively leading yourself first? Once you can effectively lead yourself, can you then effectively replicate that into others? Is this a replicatable system? Can I take my results and give them to you? And can I take my results and give them to every single person that is listening to this? If they follow my system, will they get my result? If the answer is not yes, then it's just a cult of personality. It's just guru marketing. It's personality marketing. It's not a business. The only time you have a business is when I can take my results, document them, give that system to you, you implement that system, and you get my results. When you can do that, then you can go to lead others, which is absolutely essential. Leading others is essential for scale. You cannot grow your business by yourself beyond a very small scale. But the question becomes at that point, what are we scaling? Am I scaling my system, or am I scaling 100 cults of personality? If I've got 5 salespeople on my sales team, am I scaling my system, or am I scaling 5 cults of personality? And the answer for most people is you're scaling 5 cults of personality. Where's the control? Where's the discipline? Where's the system? Only when you can take your proven system, bring people into that system with discipline, they can replicate your results through process consistently. Now you can build the kingdom. Now you can scale. And these steps, they can't be skipped. If you skip one of those steps, all you are going to do is scale chaos. And this was my problem for the longest time. I could scale a business to a multi-million dollar level just through brute force, but then it would collapse under its own weight.
Gotcha. So then, how does one start leading themselves then?
You have to figure out what you want. They just don't know. If I could give you anything right now, if I had a magic wand and I could give it to you, what would it be?
Hmm.
And the answer, honestly, is going to, you might say, I'd have $1 million. Okay, then you spend it and then you're back to your starting position. And then what? Like, the better thing to say, if your goal is money, instead of saying $1 million, the answer should be, I'll take the skills to make $1 million, Cody. One of the most powerful things, I've spent like God knows how much money on seminars. $250,000 or more. Maybe I was a seminar junkie for a long time, and I buy courses all the time, programs, masterminds, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars spent. The most powerful thing that I ever heard, and the one thing that's really stuck with me above everything else, was I was at a seminar, and the man on the stage said, "You can take everything from me. You can strip me naked. You can take my business. You can take my assets and resources, and you can kick me out on that street with nothing but the shirt on my back, and I'll be back on this stage 12 months a millionaire from now." Because I understand how to make money. I understand business. You can take my resources, but if I have the knowledge, I will be back here in 12 months. And ultimately, I realized at that point, security only exists in knowledge and understanding. Security only ever exists in wisdom because I've experienced this. I've believed that my security existed in a number in a bank account, and the more money that went into my bank account, the less secure that I felt. There was no amount of money that was ever going to make me feel secure. The only place that security exists is in the knowledge that lies within your head. I have the knowledge to build back. I have the knowledge to survive. I have the knowledge to win. And it doesn't matter what you do to me, I'm going to win. And this is where it starts. It's not truth. One of the 10 commandments of comeback culture in the book is truth before tactics. Tactics without truth is just manipulation. But many people that are watching this, myself included for a long time, sought the tactics. They're like, give me the tactics. What's the cheat code? What's the copy and paste system? What's the one click install? And you see it all the time. The marketing world panders to this, right? Stuff like steal my system, copy me. But the man that succeeds, the winner, the high performing man, the man that is a world champion, the man that runs a Fortune 500 company does not seek tactics. He seeks truth. Who's the man running the machine? Tactics are a dime a dozen. You can get off this call today and go buy a book or a course. The tactics are in the public domain. You don't even have to pay for it. Just go on YouTube. But the tactics only become valuable and useful when built on a foundation of truth. And the truth is, are you a man capable of sustaining that level of growth, or will that level of growth utterly crush you? And again, this is, we started out the conversation here. So a man performing at the highest level will ask the question, Cody, will this crush me? Because if the answer is yes, then where do we need to strengthen the construction? A weaker man, a lesser man, will answer the question immediately, I can handle this, or it will not crush me. Here's the thing. Let me ask you a question, Dolly. Let me ask you two questions. If you had a blind spot, would you know it?
If I had a blind spot, I wouldn't know it.
If you were delusional, could you see it?
I don't think so.
So therefore, based on the fact that if you had a blind spot, you couldn't see it, and if you were delusional, you wouldn't know it, is it possible that you're both blind and delusional right now?
It's highly possible.
So the only way around this is through external input. It's certain that you have blindness and it's certain that you have delusion, as I do, which is why I find it's critical for me to surround myself with people that are willing to speak into that. And here's the thing that men really need to get to the next level. It's a man that fears God more than they fear you. Here's the challenge with working with truly high performers, powerful men, is that they're surrounded by sycophants. It's dangerous to challenge the king. It's dangerous to tell the king the truth because you can have your head chopped off. And a lot of times, men that are in positions of power, men that are in true positions of authority, they will never get any honest feedback from people around them because it's too dangerous. So they're simply in a sycophantic environment that will naturally atrophy. It will destroy them. The only way that you can go from good to great and great to superior and superior to spectacular is you have to surround yourself with those who will introduce contrarian ideas. It takes a strong man for me to say to that man, you're blind and you're delusional. Most men will refute that and go, I disagree with you, Cody. Okay, that's fine. The man that is performing at the highest level will say, I haven't seen that blindness or delusion. Can you please highlight it for me? I'm open to the idea because they know that what they don't have exists exclusively in those blind spots. They know that the performance that they seek is in the delusions that are keeping them from it.
So it all starts with leading yourself. And to lead yourself in a way is becoming aware of the blind spots, the delusions, the limitations in your own parameters that you are aware of, and being able
Yes.
to source out ways of overcoming these limitations.
If you set up a perimeter, a defensive perimeter around a camp, and I'm going to be a consultant and come in and evaluate your perimeter, do you want me to tell you what you've done well and the strong points that don't need any more defense, or do you want me to point out where the enemy is going to attack and win?
Where they're going to attack for sure.
If you want to work with high performers, to work with people that truly value transformation and going to implement that, it's not a pleasant thing because you're pointing out this is you did this wrong. This is the weak spot. This is the vulnerability. This is where it's going to fail. Only the people that have a sense of security can tolerate that. Everybody else, if you don't have a certain level of internal strength, then you're going to interpret that as a personal attack, and your ego is going to go, get him out of here, get him out of here. He's a threat to us. But the truth is, love does not feel good. For me to act out of love for you is to highlight your vulnerabilities, is to highlight your weaknesses and structural flaws. And one of the first rule with whenever I work with somebody, the first rule is never grade your own homework. I think I'm strong in this area, Cody. Who told you that? Who told you were strong? The enemy? Never grade your own homework. Always take your homework to the assembly, to the community. This is why masterminds are so powerful. Think and Grow Rich. What was the principle of in Think and Grow Rich of masterminds? Absolutely essential. And it's the one thing that we all avoid. It's not because there's some, I don't think Napoleon Hill did himself any favors with his imaginary friends in his mastermind, but here's what a mastermind does. When you surround yourself with people that can see your vulnerabilities, that can see your weaknesses and see your blind spots, and you've given them permission to highlight those vulnerabilities, and they have the skill to communicate those vulnerabilities with love. This is the most powerful thing you can do to transform your life. Without the mastermind alliance, you are a cult of personality. You cannot progress beyond yourself. You cannot exceed your own limitations without the mastermind alliance.
It's important to have these contrarian thinkers in your circle, this mastermind group who can see your vulnerabilities, see your weak spots, and be able to communicate those to you. But you also mentioned that it takes a certain type of strength to be able to accept those insights. How do you develop that strength to be able to go through the pain of being able to seek higher and become better?
What's your highest value? Is it legacy or is it applause? It's simple. What's your highest? Do you value applause right now or do you value legacy? Right now, many people watching this will be like, I want applause and I want legacy. But again, when we talk about the psychology of the highest performers, they seek legacy over applause. By seeking legacy over applause and inviting that contrarian view, the criticism, the applause comes because the vulnerabilities and the weakness are closed. Then the results naturally follow. Again, seek first the kingdom of heaven, and all of these things shall be added to you. All of these things are available to you, but it gives you a very specific order. The order matters. It's not that you can't have these things, but if you want them, you have to seek first the kingdom of heaven, seek first the correction, and then the applause will follow. That's what it's saying in plain English. Seek first correction, applause will follow. Most people want applause without correction. They think that they can have both. Especially in the mid-tier performer that has not yet realized that they're not a business, they're a cult of personality. This is the decision you have to make. What do you want? Do you want to be that cult of personality, or do you want to be a business? Again, if your true desire, the life you live is the man you are, don't tell me, show me. If you want to be a business, then you need to sacrifice your own personality and your own comfort and your own applause. Are you committed to the mission or are you committed to outcome? If you're committed to outcome, then the cult of personality works. If you're committed to mission, then your personality and your applause and your personal comfort doesn't figure into this. The mission supersedes your personal comfort. But again, we're going to find that out when we start talking. Your life is going to demonstrate that. You're going to show it to me through your actions.
Yeah. So the legacy mindset leading yourself first and that mission focus are some of the core principles towards transforming into the version of you who can actually achieve the goals you set forth, but in a way that's sustainable and long lasting.
Let's evaluate success. The most successful, wealthiest organization ever in the history of mankind is the Catholic Church. What is the time horizon of the Catholic Church? It's centuries, if not millennia. Certainly centuries. They set their agenda hundreds of years in advance, and they're willing to patiently roll out that agenda over hundreds of years. The wealthiest organization in the world, there's no question about that. They also have the longest timeline. Let's go to the other end. What is the least successful cohort? Probably drug addicts. What's their time horizon? The next hit, the next drink. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, an hour. So the most successful cohort in the world, timeline of centuries, the least successful timeline of minutes. If you want to be relatively successful and being a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant, what's your timeline have to be? 10 years. If you want to be a McDonald's worker, what does your timeline have to be? Days, hours? There is a direct correlation between your time horizon and expectations of that time horizon and your outcome. So no favors to anybody saying that you can do this quickly. The reality is your results ultimately are going to be determined by your time horizon. The longer you can put the time horizon out into the future, the more successful you're going to be. I want to make six figures by the end of the month. Then you are more aligned with a crackhead than you are with a pope. One of the things I tell it to my children all the time, people go, that's harsh. They go, I don't want, I didn't ask you what you wanted, bro. I didn't ask you how you feel. I want to know if you're going to do it. This is what you need to do to succeed. I don't care how you feel about that. I just need to know, are you going to do it? Yes or no? Because if the answer is no, then I need to triage you out of the equation and go help somebody who is going to do it. Success is not accidental, it's formulaic, as is failure. Like it's very easy to understand on the negative side of things. But is there a pathway that I could give you today that you could leave this interview with and ruin your life by the end of the day? Absolutely. You could go out with a firearm and do some stuff that will ruin your life forever. Or you could behave in a way in an automobile that will ruin your life forever. Failure is formulaic. Again, remember what I said. Can it be systematized, handed to somebody else, and the results replicated with certainty by that person? Failure meets that formula. I can give you a formula where that is absolutely systematic failure with everybody who implements the formula. Easy to understand and believable. It's a continuum. Success is at one end of the continuum, failure is the other. These are not two independent things. They're different results on the same continuum. There are formulas that I can give you that you can implement today, right now, that will start to move you in a direction that if you play those formulas out with a realistic time horizon, it will succeed as unfailingly as the sun rising in the east and setting in the west. But part of that is contingent on a realistic time horizon. So my question then becomes, I know what's going to work and I know what's not going to work. And if someone's just sitting there going, I'm going to argue with you, or I'm not going to do that, go argue by yourself over there. I've got no time. I'm here to work with people that want transformation. You're not willing to recognize. You've still got delusions. Your life is an absolute catastrophe, and you're giving advice on other people how to transform their lives. Like triage done. You're out. Let's talk to you, bro. What's
Mhm.
going on with you? Are you going to do this or not? I need to know.
Yeah, that makes sense. So when you take on a client, are there certain signs or particular habits other than the ones you already discussed that highlight that they'd either be someone who can follow the process and reach a success, or are there certain signs that they might need to be triaged out? If you're bringing someone on, it's because they see that to some degree they need to improve in some way. And so if they're all coming in from that mindset, what are the signs that they can either grow or are not the best fit for your process?
The simple answer to the question is yes, humility and coachability. These are the two things. So, unfortunately, generally, somebody's life has to completely collapse before they're willing to recognize that maybe they're not as competent as they thought they were. And I was sat on the steps of the courthouse waiting for my appearance, and my lawyer showed I had to hire a lawyer to get me out of this mess. And he showed up and he said, let's get something clear, Cody. You are the idiot stupid enough to get yourself into this mess. I'm the one smart enough to get you out of it. So, when we go in there, you're not going to talk. If the judge asks you a question, you look at me and I will answer it, or I will give you permission to talk. Do you understand me? You are not going to talk. And I understood at that point. That's exactly right. I was the one stupid enough to get myself into that mess, and he was the one going to get me out of it. I followed his instructions and I was let off with a warning from the judge, thankfully. If we're talking as, hey, you're here because this aspect of your life, your marriage is failing, your relationship with your children is failing, your health is failing, your finances are failing. You've demonstrated incompetence in every area. You've demonstrated a lack of capability, confidence, and competence and understanding. You're not qualified to manage that area of your life. So here's the thing, you're not going to tell me how this is going to play out. Like, look at my life. I'll make my life public. I'll make my marriage public. I'll make my finances public. Look at my life. I'll make my businesses public. Look at my life and see if you like the results I've got. I can't tell you how to build $1 billion company because I haven't done it. But I can tell you how to have a great relationship with your kids. I can tell you how to heal and repair your marriage and have an amazing relationship with your wife or husband. I can tell you how to build a multi-million dollar business. I can tell you how to build happiness, find happiness and keep it. All of these things. I had a conversation the other day with a prospective client, and I just had to stop. I said, look, your life is a mess. You're in total collapse, yet you're telling me how I'm going to treat you. Your life is in chaos, yet you're telling me, you're prescribing to me the treatment plan that I'm going to give back to you. At some point, you've got to acknowledge that you are in collapse and you don't know what you are doing and ask for help. Because until you do that, the collapse will continue. You can't go, yes, I agree with you to some extent, Cody, but it's the but is a disqualification. For me to work with somebody, it really comes down at a personal level, at least, where my time and resources are involved, not necessarily at a hands-off group program level or something like that, but at a personal level, it's got to be my life is in total collapse. I don't know what I'm doing and I need help. And
Mm.
I'm willing to dethrone myself because I can see now that I'm not competent and capable in this area of my life. And I'm willing to defer. Those are the requirements because without that, you are not going to succeed. Without that, failure is absolutely assured. It's only when the number of times that I've looked in the mirror, Donnie, and I've fired myself and gone, look, you're a great looking guy in whatever, but you're not getting the job done, bro. Like you've had 3 years as the CEO of your life, and this is the crap show that you've created. You're fired. Get out of here. Sometimes the man that you're looking at is not redeemable. A lot of times people show up thinking that they just need an aspirin when actually they need an amputation.
So I'm curious, we've spoken a good bit on the process and how it reflects, I guess, the people you work with, but I'm curious how that reflects in your life. Is there a particular legacy or mission that you're able to share with like your focus?
My legacy is to help 50 million people at some level. So it might be a book, a free book, or
Mm.
it might be deep internal transformation. Also, like I'm working with some CEO, a couple of CEOs of some very large corporations now, and one has 8,000 people underneath him. So it's one to many, right? So being able to work with that man produces impact within 8,000 people's lives. So ultimately, one of two things is going to happen on your deathbed. This is an absolute guarantee. The final words that come out of your mouth are going to be, it is finished or I screwed up. That's it.
Yeah.
Your final words, you're gonna lay there and go, it's finished. I ran the race. I did what I was here to do. I know deep down inside why I've been put on this earth. I know the impact that I'm capable of having. I know the reach that I'm potentially capable of having. But reaching that impact requires discipline. It requires focus. It requires humility. It requires order. You've got reach inside of you. You've got impact inside of you. You wouldn't have a podcast like this. Whether you actually reach that or not doesn't come down to whether you have the potential. Everyone's got potential. Whether you actually live your legacy and have the impact that you need comes down to discipline, enforcement, value structure, obedience, all words people don't want to hear. But I tell you what, you work with a world champion athlete. This is not a man that operates or a woman that operates under feelings. It's authority. They operate under authority. They operate from ruthless discipline. They operate from principle, not feeling. Don't feel like going to the gym today? Feelings get in line. We're going to the gym today.
You mentioned part of your legacy was your book. And I know you mentioned it a little bit earlier. Could you tell us a little bit more about it?
The book's called The Greatest Comeback in History Is You. I work with men, business owners that have hit a level of success, but it's not money that they want anymore. It's legacy, that feeling of success, that internal feeling of success. Success is a horrible teacher. The only thing success will teach you is how to fail. To bring us to a point of success, it is discipline, it is obedience, it is authority. And when we start out, we don't have the luxury of funds. We don't have the luxury of a network. We don't have the luxury of distribution channels and choices. But as we're forced to operate in a bootstrapped environment, every decision has to come back with returns on investment. That you just cannot be making bad decisions
Hmm.
when you're starting out. But as you grow and as you become more successful, what success does produce is choice. If you have very little resources available to you, how those resources are allocated and how those resources are used has a lot of oversight. But when you become successful, you have much more resources and you become sloppy and lazy in the allocation of those resources. And you could become sloppy and lazy in the oversight of those resources. And you change the behavior that made you successful. What you started out with no choice, you achieved success, which gave you ultimate choice. And now you're going back downhill again because success has taught you all the negative side effects that you never should do. And it's that comeback, right? The comeback culture is coming back from it's stripping it back down to basics. Set plays win games. It's not the superstar athlete. Yeah, Michael Jordan was a superstar athlete, but it was the team around him that made him do it. Like you put Jordan on the court by himself, he wouldn't have won anything. And it's set plays that win games. And often we want to dabble with the exotic before mastering the basic. And the comeback, the greatest comeback in history, is stripping it back down to the basic principles that made you successful in the first place. It's stripping away all the choices that success have given you. Because in the beginning, discipline is not optional, it's enforced by austerity. A lack of resources forces discipline, but it's actually discipline that gets you the results that you're looking for. When you hit that level of success, discipline now has to become a choice. And for the successful man or woman, that's what I do for them. Enforce that discipline. We remove the choices that success has given you, reinstitute the discipline that brought the success out, and then the transformation takes really hours and days because you already have all the resources you need to make the comeback. You already have the resources in place. It's just a case of disciplined allocation of those resources.
Cody, this has been such a powerful conversation. I really appreciate you sharing so openly about your practice, the work that you do with your clients, and the different frameworks and understandings surrounding it. Something I like to do at the end of these episodes is to ask if you had to give one insight to business owners and creators out there who are trying to reach a new level of life while being fulfilled and making sure that as they do, it's stable progression. What would you tell those out there?
It would go back to the question, the two questions, right? If you were blind, could you see it? And if you were delusional. Look, fighter pilots never fly without a wingman. Why? Because they can't see their six. And it's deadly. Would be it. You can't do this by yourself. You will not seek that input until you realize that you can't see your six. You have blind spots. We all do. And we can't see them and we have delusions. And it's those blind spots and those delusions that are killing us. Find the humility to acknowledge that those blind spots and delusions exist and develop the good sense to get help in having somebody just seeing what they are and telling them to you honestly. Surround yourself with people that will honestly tell you the truth in love versus sycophants that will tell you what you want to hear. That's really the fundamental difference between success and failure and what you need to do if you want to succeed.
Thanks for sharing it with the world. Now, before we wrap, where can listeners connect with you, learn more about what you're doing, find your book?
So comebackculture.com, you can grab a copy of the book, and codybutler.com is my personal website. That's a good place to start. Yeah, that's the best place. I've also got a YouTube channel. That's a great place as well. If you want more insights, I try to be open and transparent and create as much value on YouTube. That's really my platform of choice is YouTube, to be honest with you. So Google Cody Butler on YouTube, and you'll find me, no doubt.
Thank you, Cody, for sharing such real and thoughtful perspectives. And to all of you out there tuning in, remember, you don't attract what you want, you attract who you are. So if you want to change your results, start by becoming the version of you who already has them. Until next time, be bold, be intentional, and keep realizing your reality.